By the way, my point on that is the intentional vagueness, the reason with that broad of a scope that it really isn't valid is because of the factor by just with the factor that I ended up saying. All right. That mic stand, bottom end, I'd guess somewhere between 40 to 60 pounds. All right. Light end, 5 pounds. Insanely disproportionately balanced weight wise, despite the factor of not appearing so. All right. So now my question is trying to string along with cause of, anything could be a weapon. Trying to be intentionally vague, just looking, to go ahead and get targeted. Yeah. Imagine dealing with that shit for 20 years. All right. Understand. I understand family issues that go overboard. But ultimately, if you see me come back around, despite not wanting to come back around, it is wrong to go to the assumption that me coming back around, number one, was my choice. Number two, was actually my punishment. I mean, if anything, you gotta remember, the same people that wanted to point and outcry for, you know, prosecution and all that and everything, they thought their stupid plan was gonna work. You know? And the reality is, now I want you to tell me that with what I just clarified, that you think everyone's going to support a ban on microphone stands. But you know what the reality is? Sometimes you gotta work with what you can work with, what you got. All right. So I mean, ultimately, it's one of those things. If you're trying to reach, you're literally looking for a reason to go ahead and not allow anyone to own any property to justify the reason that you should be able to keep the proceeds from a crime, while simultaneously acting like, oh, reward, reward. It's like, listen, very rarely in my life have I ever even gotten a fucking reward. The leaps and bounds that I've had to jump just to even get acknowledgement, because of my physical incapacitations, when I actually ended up doing something to earn accolades, while at the same time going fuck participation trophies. My point on it is, me being here, don't assume this is my punishment. Sometimes the punishment ends up going ahead and being like, well, you wanted to prod and try to undo a situation that we put a lot more effort than you even realize and a lot more coordinated organization in order to do. And the funny thing is, while simultaneously wanting to scream, no such thing as redemption, no such thing as recidivism, all right? Simultaneously, the person that wanted to go ahead and inflame the whole situation is now like, well, now that piece by piece, everything's fallen together, and, was even able to, with one crop screenshot, go ahead and show just how long we've been trying to use subliminal message to poke and prod. So, yes, they're able to go ahead and prove the over the last decade of harassment. But, it's not bad. Time heals all wounds, right? I mean, they'll get over it. That is always a bold assumption. And never try to tell a victim of abuse the way to process their abuse. Do not enable the abuser. Sometimes the punishment that fits the crime is just a factor of somebody that you did everything you could to make sure that they would never be in your presence again? Send them in. Have them be as annoying as fucking possible. You know? Are the consequences of your, the actions of your past catching up to you? Do you now have to go ahead and worry about the factor if, your tactics are abusive? Also just got informed too that Mom might have to go to the hospital, so now because of this whole situation with my license being suspended, gotta worry about everyone here. So more unnecessary and unneeded, harsher attempt to put pressure while simultaneously putting people with disabilities in the way. All right? So understand, sometimes if the best service that I could offer is you, quote unquote, letting me play pretend and stand guard, isn't that cute? Funny thing is, when it comes down to the harmless, all that ratio and all that, stop using that as a fucking measure for enrichment. And also understand, I could give a fuck less about the opinion of some piece of shit that wanted to go ahead and try to spend decades to set up the scenario to go ahead and sell their children's reproductive rights to their fucking grandparents, while being like, hey, I'm just going to be this storage facility, and, if they end up going ahead and breaking your will by, the stipulation of if they engage in any homoerotic behaviors to make sure that you force them into homelessness. First off, that contract in court would automatically, on the merits, be disregarded as unconscionable. You understand that, right? Number 2, understand, sometimes we really are our own worst enemy. All right? Sometimes the people that are the actual protectors, they're looking from the sideline, gauging how bad it could be, how bad it was, doing the actual calculations, like the full-blown calculations, where it's not fucking leveled in one side or another. All right? So, but when it comes down to burglarizing me for the last 20 years, I don't know. That one right there, she's like, hey, getting restless legs. My point on that is, and I'm not saying that to say, oh, flight risk. No. I'm saying that to say, it doesn't matter. Everyone has a past. And when it comes to the things left in the past, stop acting like you fucking know what they glorify. Alright? And what they fucking stand for. Because the reality is, what actually has me absolutely disgusted by my mom is